Good day, everyone. I'm your reporter, Karen Kate Torres. I will discuss about the Chapter 4 of MIS, the ethical and social issues in information system. So, I have here the topic outline. The first one is what ethical, social, and political issues are raised by the information system. The second is what specific principle for conduct can be used to guide ethical issues. The third, why do contemporary information system technology and the internet pose challenges to the protection of individual privacy and intellectual property. So the next one is learning outcomes. So it will describe ethical, social, and political issues raised by the information system. Behave ethically, guided by the principles of conduct. Apply the knowledge and skills in the protection of individual privacy and intellectual property. So, we have here the understanding ethical, social, and political issues are raised by the information system. So, in the past 10 years, we have witnessed arguably one of the most ethically challenging periods of US and global business. On Table 4.1 provides a small sample of recent cases demonstrating failed ethical judgment by senior and middle managers. So, those examples are ethical and business judgment occurred across a broad spectrum of industries. In today's new legal environment, managers who violate the law and are convicted will most likely spend time in prison. U.S. federal sentencing guidelines adopted in 1987 mandate that federal judges impose stiff sentences on business executives based on the monetary value of the crime, the presence of a conspiracy to prevent discovery of the crime, the use of structured financial transactions to hide the crime, and failure to cooperate with prosecutors. So what do we mean by ethics? So ethics refers to the principles of right and wrong that individuals acting as free moral agents use to make choices to guide their behaviors. Information systems raise new ethical questions for both individuals and societies because they create opportunities for intense social change and thus threaten existing distribution of power, money, rights, and obligations. Like other technologies such as steam engines, electricity, the telephone, and the radio. Information technology can use to achieve social progress, but can also be used to commit crimes and threaten cherished social values. The ethical dilemma you may face as a manager of information system typically is reflected in social and political debate. One way to think about this relationship is shown in figure 4.1. Imagine. Imagine society as a more or less calm pond on a summer day, a delicate ecosystem in partial equilibrium with individuals and with social and political institutions. So first, the individuals. Individuals know how to act in this pond because social institutions like family, educations, organizations have developed well-honed rules of behavior. And these are supported by laws developed in the political sector that prescribe behavior and promise sanction for violations. Now, toss a rock into the center of the pond. What happens? Of course, it ripples. Okay, next. We have here the major ethical, social, and political issues raised by information systems include the following moral dimensions. So the first one is information, right, and obligations. The second one, property rights and obligations. The third one is accountability and control system quality. The fifth and the last is the quality of life. These are the five major ethical. So there are four key technological trends responsible for these ethical stresses, and they are summarized in table 4.2. The doubling of computing power every 18 months has made it possible for most organizations to use information systems for their core production processes. As a result, our dependence on systems and our vulnerability to system errors and poor data quality have increased. So the use of computer to combine data from multiple sources and create electronic dossiers of detailed information on the individual is what we call profiling. For example, several thousand of the most popular websites allow double-click that was owned by Google, an internet advertiser broker, to track the activities of their visitors in exchange for revenue from advertisement based on visitor information. Double-click can create a detailed dossiers of a person's spending and computing habits on the web that is sold to companies to help them target their web ads more precisely. So, a new data analysis technology called Non-Obvious Relationship Awareness, or NORA, has given both the government and the private sector even more powerful profiling capabilities. NORA can take information about people from many disparate sources, such as employment application, telephone records, customer listing, unwanted listing, and correlate relationship to find obscure hidden connection that might help identify criminals or terrorists. The technology is considered a valuable tool for homeland security but does have privacy implications but because it can provide such a detailed picture of the activities and associations of a single individual. So when we face with alternative courses of action, what is the correct moral choice? What are the main features of ethical choice? So ethical choice are decisions made by individuals who are responsible for the consequences of their actions. So responsibility. Responsibility is a key element of ethical action. Responsibility means that you accept the potential costs, duties, and obligations for the decision you make. Accountability. It means that mechanisms are in place to determine who took responsible action and who is responsible. System and institution in which it is impossible to find out who took what action are inherently incapable of ethical analysis or ethical actions. Liability. Liability is a feature of political system in which a body of laws is in place that permits individuals to recover the damage done to them by other actors. Actor systems or organizations. Due process is a related feature of law-governed societies and is a process in which laws are known and understood, and there is an ability to appeal to higher authorities to ensure that the laws are applied correctly. So, when confronted with a situation that seems to present ethical issues, how should you analyze it? So, first, identify and describe the facts clearly. The second one, define the conflict or dilemma and identify the higher order values involved. The third, identify the stakeholders. Fourth is identify the options that you can reasonably take. And the last is identify the potential consequences of your options. So once your analysis is complete, what ethical principles, rules should you use to make a decision? What higher order values should inform your judgment, although you are the only one who can decide which among many ethical principles you will follow and how you will prioritize them. So, it is helpful to consider some ethical principles with deep roots in many cultures that have survived throughout recorded history. So, we have do not unto others as you would have them do unto you, by the golden rule, meaning putting yourself in the place of others and thinking of yourself as the object of the decision can help you think about fairness in decision making. The second one, if an action is not right for everyone to take, it is not right for anyone, by Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative. It means ask yourself, if everyone did this, could our organization or society survive? So the third one is by Descartes' rule of change. If an action cannot be taken repeatedly, it is not right to take at all. It means this is the slippery slope rule. An action may bring about a small change that is acceptable, but it is repeated, it will bring unacceptable changes in the long run. In the vernacular, it might be stated as once started down a slippery path, you may not be able to stop. Okay? So the fourth, take the action that achieves the higher or greater value by utilitarian principle. This rule assumes you can prioritize values in a rank order and understand the consequences of various courses of action. So, second from the last is from risk aversion principle. Take the action that produces the least harm or least potential cost. Some actions have extreme high failure cost of very low probability, or extreme high failure cost of moderate probability. Avoid this high failure cost action, paying greater attention to high failure cost potential of moderate to high probability. So we have the last one. Assume that virtual all tangible and intangible objects are owned by someone else unless there is a specific declaration otherwise. By ethical no free lunch rule. If something or someone else has created is useful to you, it has value and you should assume the creator wants compensation for this work. Okay. Next is privacy. So, privacy is the claim of individuals to be left alone, free from surveillance or interference from other individuals or organizations, including the state. Moreover, in Table 4.3 describes the major U.S. federal statutes that set forth the conditions for handling information about individuals in such areas as credit reporting, education, financial records, newspaper records, and electronic communications. The Privacy Act of 1974 has been the most important of this law, regulating this federal government collection, use, and disclosure of information. The FTC's FIP principles are being used as guidelines to drive changes in privacy legislation in July 1998. The U.S. Congress passed the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act or COPA, requiring websites to obtain parental permission before collecting information on children under the age of 13. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act or HIPAA of 1996, which took effect on April 14, 2003, includes privacy protection for medical records. The law gives patients access to their personal medical records maintained by health care providers, hospitals, and health insurers, and the right to authorize how protected information about themselves can be used or disclosed. Doctors, hospitals, and other healthcare providers must limit the disclosure of personal information about patients to the minimum amount necessary to achieve a given purpose. So in Europe, privacy protection is much more stringent than in the United States or US. Unlike the US, European countries do not allow businesses to use personally identifiable information with the consumer's prior consent. So what do we mean by informed consent? So informed consent can be defined as consent given with knowledge of all the facts needed to make a rational decision. These new rules are implemented in May 2011 and required that website visitor might must give explicit consent to be tracked by cookies. Websites will be required to have highly visible warnings to their page if third-party cookies are being used. So, what do we mean by cookies? Cookies is not a food, okay? Cookies are small text file deposited on a computer hard drive when a user visits websites. Cookies identify the visitor's web browser's software and track visits to the websites. When the visitor returns to a site that has stored a cookie, the website software will search the visitor's computer, find the cookie, and know what the person has done in the past. It may also update the cookie depending on the activity during the visit. Figure 4.3 illustrates how cookies work. So, website using cookie technology cannot directly obtain visitors' names and addresses. However, if a person has registered at a site, that information can be combined with cookie data to identify the visitor. There are now even more subtle and surreptitious tools for surveillance of internet users, so-called super cookies or flash cookies. So flash cookies cannot be easily deleted and can be installed whenever a person clicks on a flash video. This so-called local shared object files are used by Flash to play videos and are put on the user's computer without their consent. So, web beacons, or called web bugs, or simply tracking files, are tiny software programs that keep a record of users' online clickstream and report this data back to whomever owns the tracking file invisibly, embedded in an email messages and web pages that are designed to monitor the behavior of the user visiting a website or sending email. Spyware can secretly install itself on an internet user's computer by piggybacking on larger applications. Once installed, the spyware calls out to websites to send banner ads and other unsolicited material to the users, and it can report the user's movements on the internet to other computers. More information is available about intrusive software in Chapter 8. So in the United States has allowed businesses to gather transaction information generated in the marketplace and then use that information for other marketing purposes without obtaining the informed consent of the individual whose information is being used. An opt-out model of informed consent permits the collection of personal information until the consumer specifically requests that the data not be collected. Privacy advocates would like to see wider use of an opt-in model of informed consent in which a business is prohibited from collecting any personal information unless the consumer specifically takes action to approve information collection and use. Here, the default option is no collection of users' information. That's all. Thank you.